on our channel Chemplus Academy. So anyone who is pursuing their BSc and who has chemical thermodynamics as a part of their subject can follow this series, and this series will also be useful for CSIR NET and IIT JAM aspirants. So without wasting much time, let's begin the topic. You can notice one thing, that this word thermodynamics is made of two words. The first word is the word therm and second one is the word dynamics. The word therm, it refers to heat. Therm refers to heat, and the word dynamics, it refers to the movement or flow. Dynamic refers to movement or flow. So from this we can infer that thermodynamics is something that is related to the flow of heat. So broadly we can define thermodynamics as the effect of heat, work or energy on any system. Okay. So thermodynamics is defined as the effect of heat, energy or work on any system. I have not yet defined what this system is. I'll do it in a while. But what does this definition say? Let us concentrate on it first. Say if I consider a jar or a container which is filled with a gas. Now what happens to this gas when I provide heat to the system? Does this gas do any work? Or what happens when I take out the heat from the system? So all these study which is related to the flow of heat is concerned by the subject thermodynamics. So thermodynamics, it deals with the effect of heat, energy and work on any system. So let us see how this chemical thermodynamics is useful for chemists, or how as chemists we can rely upon this branch of chemistry called chemical thermodynamics. We can write it as objectives of thermodynamics. Objectives of thermodynamics. Now consider any arbitrary reaction, that is conversion of some reactant A into B. So this thermodynamics, it tells us whether the conversion of the reactant A into B is possible or not under given set of experimental conditions. So thermodynamics tells us about the feasibility of a reaction, whether any kind of reaction is possible or not. So first objective is, it predicts, or thermodynamics predicts, the feasibility of a reaction. Then what is the second objective? Say certain reaction is feasible, the conversion of A into B is possible. Then thermodynamics tells us how much of energy we require to convert this reactant A into B, or how much energy we need to take out from A so that it is converted into B. So all these energy changes in a reaction are dealt with, can be dealt with the help of thermodynamics. So thermodynamics deals with the energy changes in a reaction. What is the third objective? As chemists, we know that 100% of the reactant is not converted into product. 100% of reactant, conversion of 100% of reactant into product is possible only for ionic reactions. So this thermodynamics tells us how much amount of A is converted into B. That means how much of reactant is being converted into the product. So thermodynamics deals about the extent of reaction, or the extent of conversion of reactant into product. So thermodynamics tells us about the extent of completion of reaction. We also know that there are various laws derived in thermodynamics, like first law of of thermodynamics and third law of thermodynamics. Those will also be very useful for a chemist in predicting certain things, okay? So these laws of thermodynamics also come under the objectives. We have talked about the objectives of thermodynamics. Now let us talk about the drawbacks, or limitations is a better word. So what are the limitations of thermodynamics? Limitations. Consider two jars or two containers and name this as container A and this one as container B. Say container A has some certain gas G closed by a lid, and container B also has the gas G, but there is only one molecule of the gas G in container B. Now if you want to study the system, or I'm using the word container because I have not yet defined the system, okay? So now if you want to study what happens to this gas in container A, then to study those properties, you can apply the thermodynamics. So you can use thermodynamics to study what happens to the gas A when you pass heat, when you provide heat to the gas, or when you take out heat from the gas. But you cannot do the same thing with the gas molecule in the container B, because there is only one molecule, and thermodynamics is concerned only with the bulk systems or macroscopic systems. So bulk systems are those systems which has large number of molecules, and microscopic systems are those systems which has small number of molecules, okay? So this jar A is a macroscopic system, macroscopic or bulk system, and this one is the microscopic system, since it has only one molecule. So thermodynamics, it applies to only bulk systems or macroscopic systems. That is one of the limitations. So the first limitation is applicable. Thermodynamics is applicable only to the bulk or macroscopic systems. But not applicable to microscopic systems. And not applicable to microscopic systems. And the second limitation is that you cannot say how fast the A is being converted into B. That means how fast the reactant is being converted into B. So that is not the job of thermodynamics. So it does not give any information, or does not provide any information. Provide is a better word. Does not provide any information, any info regarding the rate of the reaction. So this job is done by the chemical kinetics, not by thermodynamics, okay? And the third limitation is, I'm saying that A can be converted into B, but I don't know via which path. Like A can first go to some intermediate state C and then be converted into B, or A can first go to some state C and then go to state D, and finally it is converted into B. Thermodynamics doesn't know which path or the mechanism that A follows to get converted into B. So thermodynamics doesn't give any information regarding the mechanism of the reaction. So what can we write? Doesn't provide information, doesn't provide about the mechanism. About the mechanism of the reaction. So we have listed down the advantages or objectives of thermodynamics. On the other side, we have listed down the drawbacks or limitations. So before we start learning thermodynamics, we need to know some technical terms like system, surroundings and universe, and then we start our formal study of thermodynamics. So let us understand what a system is. Say if I am studying water in this glass. So if I am studying what happens to the water if I provide heat to this glass, then this glass of water becomes my system. So any object or any portion which is under study is called system. Okay. So system is defined as the portion under observation or under study. Under observation or study. Okay, system is defined as the portion under observation. Now, what is surroundings? So anything except that glass of water is surroundings. Okay, anything in this room or anything in this town or whatever it is happening in the other galaxy is also a surroundings for the system. So anything except the system is called surroundings. So anything except the system is surroundings. So what is universe? The system and surroundings are combinedly called universe. Okay. Universe is nothing but system plus surroundings. So how can I properly define system now? The portion of universe under study is system. Okay. So I must add this word universe here. The portion of universe which is under study or observation is system. So what is surroundings? Anything except the system in the universe is surroundings. Okay. So now we have learned system, surroundings and universe. There is classification of systems. Now let us learn the classification of systems. So there are two types of classification of system. The first class, okay, I forgot to tell you one thing. When I was teaching you system and surroundings, I am separating the system from the surroundings, right? Then there should be some separation that differentiates or that distincts the system from the surroundings. Okay, so that separation is called boundary. So I left one word to define, that is boundary. Boundary is something that separates system from the surroundings. Something that separates system from surroundings. System from the surroundings. Okay. So in the case of glass of water, this walls of the this glass or tumbler is the boundary because it is separating this water from the rest of the universe. Okay, so this one is boundary. Okay, but this boundary can also be real and imaginary. here in this case of glass of water, this boundary is real, but if you consider a piece of chalk, so say this is a piece of the chalk, now there is some interface. You can imagine an interface that separates this piece of chalk from the rest of the universe, but that one is not real, like this thick walls of this tumbler or gas. Okay, such boundaries come under imaginary boundaries. So boundaries can be real or imaginary. Okay, boundaries are real and imaginary. Now let us begin to classify the systems. It was necessary for me to define the boundary because the first classification of the system is based on boundary and the second classification of the system is based on the number of phases. So there are two major classifications of system. Two classifications. First classification is based on, I think I should have written this, classification of system. Classification of system or systems rather. First classification is based on nature of boundary. Nature of boundary. And the second classification is based on the number of phases. So depending upon the nature of the boundary, systems are classified into three types. First one is the open system. Second one is the closed system. Third one is the isolated system. So what is an open system? In an open system, both the transfer of matter and energy takes place from system to the surroundings. Let us consider an example. I have a container which has water and I am boiling this water. When you boil this water starts entering, this is our system and the rest is surroundings. The water from here, it gets converted into vapor and starts entering into the surroundings. And heat can also pass from this system to the surroundings. First via this water, because this water vapor is also carrying heat along with it or energy along with it. So both the transfer of matter and energy is taking place here. The other way in which the heat passes to the surroundings is via radiation. Now if you place your hand near this container, you will feel hot. That means that heat is being passed to the surroundings via radiation. So in open systems, both transfer of the matter and energy is taking place or takes place. Okay. So open systems are the systems in which both mass and matter and energy is transferred to the surroundings. Both matter and where to write? I'll rub this one out so that we have some place to write the definition. Both matter and energy is transferred from the system to the surroundings. From system to surroundings. Okay. I'll not write the complete spelling. Okay. Please understand. Huh? Now, what is a closed system? So, this is a kind of system in which only energy is transferred from the system from surroundings but not the matter. Okay. For that, consider the example of boiling water in a container, but this container is closed with a lid. So when the water boils, there is no way for the water to escape into the surroundings, right? So there is no transfer of matter from system to surroundings, but here the energy can be transferred from this system to surroundings via radiation, okay? So closed system is a system in which only transfer of energy takes place from system to surroundings, but no transfer of matter. Matter is not transferred, but only energy is transferred. From system to surroundings is understood, okay? From system to surroundings. So what is an isolated system? It is a system in which neither transfer of matter nor energy takes place, okay? Neither matter nor energy is transferred from system to surroundings. The best example for isolated system is a Borosil bottle. Nowadays you can find those bottles in market. If you put cool water in it, it remains cool for a long time, and if you put hot water in the bottle, it remains hot for a long time. So it does not allow the heat to pass to the surroundings, okay? Therefore it maintains the temperature of your matter or the substance, okay? And since the bottle is closed, it will not even allow the transfer of matter from the bottle to the surroundings, okay? So that comes under isolated system. You can call it and write it as a Borosil bottle only, okay? Borosil bottle. And the other example is thermos flask, okay? I think this thermos flask are nothing but those bottles. I'm not sure about it, you can check, okay? Thermos flask. We use this thermos flask to keep the tea so that tea remains hot, okay? Now let us go to the second classification. I told you that second classification is based upon the number of phases. What is a phase? I'll give you an example, because if I take a glass of water and if there is only water in the glass throughout, that water or that system is said to have only one phase. If I take water and oil, you can clearly see that there is a separation of water and oil. So that system has two phases. That means the system should have a substance which is homogeneous throughout. Then that system is said to have only one phase. If the system has a substance which is not homogeneous throughout, then that system is said to have more than one phases. So depending upon the depending upon the number of phases, systems are classified into two types: homogeneous system and heterogeneous system. So classification of system, I'll not write the entire thing, I'll just write based on the number of phases. First is the homogeneous system. And second is the heterogeneous system. Homogeneous system has only one phase. The system that has only one phase is called a homogeneous system. And the the system that has more than one phases comes under the heterogeneous system. More than one phases. So what is the example of homogeneous system? As I told you, a gas, okay? Any kind of gas. Or what can be the other example? Water or any kind of liquid. Even if there are more than two liquids and those are miscible, I mean completely soluble in each other, that also comes under homogeneous system. So let us write it this way. Gas, homogeneous gas, mixture of gases, or mixture of liquids which are miscible, or mixture of miscible liquids. So these are the examples for homogeneous systems. So what are the heterogeneous systems? And the one important thing is, when you take more than two liquids, that those two liquids should not react with each other, okay? That's a condition here. The heterogeneous system is mixture of two immiscible liquids, like oil and water, mixture of reacting gases, or reacting liquids. Here the mixture of gases should also be non-reacting, okay? Mixture of reacting gases. So this is the second classification of systems, which is based on the number of phases, and based on number of phases, systems are classified into two types: homogeneous system, heterogeneous system. In homogeneous system there is only one phase, and in heterogeneous system there are more than one phases, okay? So this is all for today's class, and we'll continue with our learning of thermodynamics in upcoming classes. Thank you so much.